Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So many more people are gravitating toward a more holistic approach to their health. Instead of using medicines, they're using herbals, which is fantastic. We've talked about that before a number of times with her. Today, we're going to look at a word that's been going around, actually two words, psychedelics and mushrooms. As soon as I hear those two words, I'm like, but it has been legalized in at least one state. And what is it? What can it do for you? And how does it even connect to herbals that she offers at Oyate Herbals? And she is a certified master herbalist. Fantastic woman. Tammie Lowell is back with us. How are you?
Good, Steve. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. And I don't know. I'm continually hearing that word psychedelics and mushrooms come up more and more, just in a conversation, or I walk past people talking and it comes up. I will tell you this, when I think of the word mushrooms, not the ones that come with your Italian dinner, I get a memory of, being younger when people would be like, yeah, well, I think these mushrooms, wow, it's crazy. People did say that about marijuana too, before it was legalized, right, and all of it. Right. Essentially, what are we talking about here?
Well, I mean, mushrooms been around, the psychedelics have been around just as long as marijuana's been around. I mean, they've been around for hundreds of years, and there's so many different mushrooms. You've got ones that has the psilocybin in it, and then you got ones that don't have psilocybin in it. Actually, both are really kind of been popular. But talk about that quote magic mushroom, that we called it many years ago, because that shows our age, right? I kind of have mixed feelings about it. I have been in this industry for many, many years, as we've spoke, and I do a lot of these holistic fairs on the weekends, and there's always somebody there that is, because of course Colorado has legalized it. They've allowed it in some form to be sold for medicinal purposes. I think they're still working on the regulations and things like that, but at some of these fairs they're passing out samples of these mushrooms, microdosing, okay, doing this stuff, and I'm not quite sure how to feel about it. The one thing that I know has been going on for a long, long time is they're doing these ceremonies with the psilocybin mushrooms. It's kind of like a journey type of a thing. Somebody who is certified to help this person take these mushrooms throughout and have them go through. Basically, it is a guided hallucination. What it's supposed to be doing is it's supposed to be resetting the brain chemistry to help people with severe PTSD. I've heard veterans do this. They'll use different ones, like they call them the blue mushroom, or the different ones are the generic names. And they go through this, they give them these different teas, and they literally supervise this as they go through it, and there's a certification for it. And wow. yeah and they go through this, and it's a lot of it they've started using it in MDMA ceremony, or in treatments. So it's even gone into that industry. So I mean, I'm not opposed to anything that is natural. I'm not opposed to anything that is healthy. If this could really do this, then okay, I can see where it might have benefits if you are taught how to do this, if you've gone to some type of classes or teachings, and you can help these people through this. And then afterwards they recommend microdosing. I actually had a girlfriend that did this. I seen the videos. She just basically laughed the entire time, but she was in a very, very depressive state, a very volatile state, even thought about taking her own life.
During the ceremony?
No, this was prior. This is what brought her to this ceremony.
Got it.
And she swore that it brought her totally out, brought her around to a whole new awakening. I think back to the 60s hippies and peace, love, and, all of that. And she kind of fits in that era.
I get you.
But she did, and she's been microdosing ever since. So I think maybe if that happens and you go through that ceremony and you are able to do that type of actual progress and then do the microdosing, I think that would be that is my take on it. I think that's a safer way of, if you're wanting to dive into this, to go down that avenue, find somebody certified that understands it, that studied this in depth. But yeah, I mean, I can't say I agree with people passing out, mushrooms, microdose mushrooms. I mean, these people are coming by my booth and they are buzzed out of their head. And I'm like,
so my eye opener was, I'm in the New York area, and there's, during the summer, there's festivals, right? I walked down one of the streets of the festivals and there's a bunch of tables set up, and it looks like people, companies, local companies with, weed, THC. And I walk up to one of the tables and I'm like, I just start asking questions, and I'm thinking, CBD to everywhere. Okay. I'm like, CBD? Like, no, it's regular marijuana. And I'm like, really? And I know it's legalized, but in certain ways, not just, in a street fair. I was kind of blown away. Like, all right, so wait, let me get this straight. So I can buy weed right here, right now. No questions asked, no, medical card, nothing, blah, blah, blah. And honestly, at this point, I don't even know what the law is in New York State, what is permissible. I lost track. I really did. But, to your point, that's, at least we know a little bit about weed and the CBD, going in that direction, a little bit different. And
yeah,
I did, a year and a half ago, I did a cacao ceremony, and which is chocolate from the purest form from Costa Rica, highest content of magnesium of anything on the planet.
Right.
And it's supposed to have euphoric properties. Of course, it's legal as chocolate, but a certain concentration. And just that alone, they gave us the chocolate with a little agave to sweeten it up, and we drank it. It was, it was warm. It's like, okay, great. Then there was a breathing exercise. Now, I don't know if it was the combo of the cacao and the breathing exercise, but 15 people in the room, and I've never done anything like it. I didn't even do like a guided meditation before like this. Everybody, 15 minutes later, everybody in the room was crying. And they said, think about things that you want to work on and achieve. I'm not even kidding. It was just like, it was an interesting experience. That's that. I can't imagine microdosing with mushrooms. That's my point here. I don't know. What are your feelings, moving forward on this? Can you still hear me?
Questions.
Okay.
I can.
Okay, great. Yeah, your video froze up for a second there, so that's why I'm asking. There we go. I think you're back, or you're frozen.
Maybe.
I think we have a weird connection here.
There we go.
I think we're good.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see.
Yeah. So overall, what are your thoughts? I might not have heard you.
I think we're good. We'll try.
I swear we're not on mushrooms right now. But anyway, go ahead.
No. But I am a firm believer of other mushrooms that are out there, medicinal mushrooms that have been used for centuries.
Sure.
I make a Sacred 7 mushroom tincture that has it's got lion's mane, maitake, shiitake, cordyceps, turkey tail, reishi mushrooms. Those are probably your most beneficial mushrooms that you can get. Mushrooms, oh my God, the anti-cancer properties and the, reducing the risk and things, these have been proven tried and true over years. It can lower cholesterol, it can lower sodium, it works directly with LDLs. They're high in vitamin D, B12, B3, B5, and 9, if I remember right. I mean, there's so many different things that these other mushrooms, I think, could benefit versus just the psilocybins and all of those. That's more for people that are, I mean, severe PTSD, veterans that are, somebody that's trying that it is contemplating suicide, having those ideations, things like that. I mean, if you've, been to everything and you've done everything, and this is a last ditch effort, well, okay, at least it's still natural. It's not a synthetic.
Right.
And, so I mean, that's where my mixed emotions are with it. But I think it needs to be a last ditch effort, in my opinion. Yeah, you would not see me now if I'm somebody who, I mean, I'm a firm believer. I think like Delta 9, we talked about the THC,
I was just
Delta
thinking that.
9. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, and it's hemp derived. It's coming from the hemp plant, which hemp has 10 times more medicinal purposes than the marijuana plant does. So, I mean, it's and all plants, and they all have their properties. So, I mean, I guess these mushrooms could have their place in some instances. I'm not going to down them completely, but I don't know they would be for me, or something that I would be getting into to go, here, try this. Yeah. And a lot of that falls back on my Native American cultures and, fogging your brain and not having that there,
Clarity.
but it's a personal preference,
Yeah. And I'm on your page, and I respect your professional opinion. I agree with you. I'm not panning any of this. CBD, there's many major benefits for it. And when you said Delta 9, we'd like mind read, because
right.
I was thinking actually of Delta 8, which, there's a lot of talk about that it's synthetic, and, you might want to stay away from it. Delta 9 seems to be very much more mainstream when it comes to CBD. What are you, I think we skimmed very quickly on Delta 8. What can you
Yeah.
tell us about Delta 8?
Delta 8 and Delta 9, right out the door, I'll tell you, are derived exactly the same. So a lot of what I am finding is the marijuana industry does not like those components because they're coming from hemp. The hemp industry has taken a lot of the marijuana industry over. They've come into a place where they don't like it. Well, Delta 8 and Delta 9 both adhere to the C1 receptor of the brain, very much like an opiate does. Okay, so it brings upon that euphoric effect. It brings upon that body high, that relaxation, especially when combined with a high potency full spectrum CBD. So there's a lot of medicinal properties. What they don't like about Delta 8 is they're saying it's too much like an opiate. It adheres too long, and it's too addictive. So they are actually illegalizing it in many, many states. You can't get it in Colorado. It is totally illegal. You are not allowed to possess, consume, or distribute anything with Delta 8 in it whatsoever. So now Delta 9, it's perfectly legal. You can ship it anywhere pretty much that is legal, in the United States, because it is technically CBD. I actually carry a gummy with Delta 9 in it that still has the 0.39% by dry weight.
Yep.
It is made out of Oregon. It's made by the top 6 CBD corporation in the world. And it works wonders. I would much rather see somebody do that, and try and reduce their pain, their inflammation, their stressors, through that avenue than getting on an opiate. Because the one thing that Delta 9 doesn't do is Delta 9 does not make that C1 receptor volatile to the withdrawals that the opiates do. Somebody who's been on opiates for so long, you're damaging that C1 receptor. So when you start getting off of it, the C1 receptor will actually create a very hard phantom pain because your brain is addicted to it.
Wow.
So so just as it turns off the pain in your head, it's not fixing the pain in your body. It's not stopping, it's turning it off in your brain. And I mean, there's a lot more that goes into this, but I'm giving that layman's terms in it. It does the same thing when you come off of it. the C1 receptor freaks out. So it increases that pain in your brain, thinking it's more than what it really is, especially if you've been on them for a long time.
Is CBD for somebody like that was addicted to opiates? Is that a reasonable, I don't want to say remedy, but something that can get you
Yeah,
to where you want to be?
I would call it a safer alternative by far. I
Okay.
mean, it's got the anti-inflammatory properties. That's kind of why I like the Delta 9 with the CBD. So you've got, I mean, I've always liked, and we've done research and studies on this, that a 60-40 balance for pain of THC and CBD is really a very nice balance. So, but using it, just in the flower form, like, smoking it, it doesn't work that way. A lot of people think it does because you're, taking anything into the lungs, you do get 100% absorbency, but it works differently than when you're taking it like sublingually, and things like that. It does work differently. It allows your body to absorb it a little slower, a little bit more, and it lasts a little longer. It
Wow.
lets the body take it in more cohesively. So
I would think it's the other way around, that smoking it would be better, but I see what you're saying. More so sublingually as
yeah.
opposed to taking, a gummy. Uh
Yeah, I
would be a
mean, but
better route.
gummies, you're still chewing it, so it's going in, you're still getting it sublingual because you got to chew that. So it starts those saliva glands going, it's not just like a capsule going directly into the stomach.
So
I mean, you get,
question on that. I've always wondered
yes,
about this. Okay. So you're taking an edible, taking a gummy CBD. Would it be a good idea if you want, maximum absorption? Because I'm always thinking too, well, you're chewing it, so you're really not getting all of it, to put it under your tongue for a little while before,
absolutely. Yep.
and don't even, I'm thinking crazy here, do that, but don't even chew it. If it's small enough. Just let's say some people take a half, if it's
Yeah.
a 50, you want to, make it a 25, and then just
Right.
swallow it and don't chew it. So now
Yeah.
there's no loss, if you will.
Right. No, no. And there's a lot of people. It's funny because you had said that and it reminded me of people that are on opiates. Uh, I have clients that because they were in so much pain, they would allow it to dissolve under their tongue so they got quicker absorbency.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
smoking it is kind of the same in terms of
Yeah.
time, where it's going to
Yes.
take, if you swallow a gummy edible, it's going to take at least 40 minutes,
Right.
to really feel any effects of that. What are
Yeah.
your what are your thoughts on somebody that could take straight out marijuana or CBD for whatever it might be, whether it's anxiety? Let's pick that one. What are your
Okay.
thoughts on the two of those there?
Um, I think it really depends on the individual and their mindset. A lot of times, those people that are more apt to smoking marijuana and using, higher contents of CBD or higher contents of THC and a lower content of CBD, it seems to work better for them. And I think it's because they are that type of a personality that needs to be numbed out. They need that numb out. They need that, but in my opinion, it's not giving you that medicinal property. You're just getting numb. You're really not getting the medicinal properties out of it that you are. You're kind of numbing yourself out. You're kind of temporarily fixing that stress and that anxiety. But actually, THC longer and longer, especially like if you're doing it through like a vape form or like dabs. A lot of people use dabs, things like that.
Hmm.
The way that's broke down, it really can, in long run, because it's such a high amount of THC, it can, after a while, and it can actually cause more anxiety. It can increase those levels of the serotonins in the brain and things like that. It can disrupt that. So I like a lower level of THC, just enough to really help grab those components of the CBD, help that bridge. You got to have a little bit of it. You got to have some. And then for the people who really need it for reducing the pain and the stress, maybe a little more. You maybe have 5 milligrams, but that's why I like the Delta 9. Because it works that way. So I am way prone more to hemp than I am marijuana. But
Such a great point.
Yeah.
You know what? And it's so reasonable to think that, you know, how many times have you heard somebody have marijuana and describe it as like, oh my God, I was like, you know, I was in a store and I was like, well, if you have anxiety, why would you want to do that? Because you're just making it even worse, I would think, right?
You can't over time. Yeah, you can. I mean, at first, you know, your body starts grabbing a lot of the medicinal properties out of it, what little that has, you know, and of course the marijuana industry would argue with me to the hilt, you know. But I mean, we've proven it. It's not just, you know, the marijuana industry and the CBD industry, you know, of course they have their issues back and forth, but I am finding that the marijuana industry is all about the high. It's not about the medicinal properties. They don't do the research in getting into it. Yeah, they're scientists. They can figure out how to, you know, split these cells and make this more potent. And you got all these different indicas and sativas and hybrids and everything like that. And they're all about the scientific part of it, making the high better, working on like indica for the sleep and, you know, sativa for energy and this and that. And people function that way. But they haven't really looked at the deep part of that coming from the herbalists, the cell structure. What does it do to the body? You know, on those aspects where the CBD industry kind of went down that avenue. They went more looking as it in a medicinal purpose. They broke it apart and figured out what this is going to do for the body. How does the anti-inflammatories, how is the ingestion done? How does it work with the brain, you know, differently? They studied both parts of it. And that's why a lot of the people from the cannabis industry moved away from the marijuana industry and found out that this is really where the healing properties are.
Wow. I'm going to tell all my friends to click the link for this podcast, because this is the stuff that comes up that people talk about. And then, you know, a lot of times it gets in a friendly way debated. And even the opioid use of, you know, people having challenges with that versus CBD. And then again, Delta 8, Delta 9. I don't even know if you're aware, there's a Delta 50, and it's a combo of Delta 8, Delta 9, and Delta 10.
Yeah.
I've
heard about it. Can't say I've done a whole lot of research on it or any testing on it. You know, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, what's the new fad? What's the new thing? Me as an herbalist, I stick with tried and true. Yeah. I stick with stuff that has been around forever. You know, like we talked about, I would much rather see regular traditional mushrooms used versus the psychedelics and the psilocybins and things like that. Just because, you know, my whole theory is if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
You know, I mean, I'm not opposed to more research. I'm not opposed to finding things, because we always learn and everything. But when you're out there, do your research. I cannot stress that enough. Do your research. Tried and true is great. We know it works. You know, you're good to go. If you want to try something else, you know, do the research, really. And don't just go online. Talk with professionals. Talk with people who really understand these things.
100%, because you're getting that personal connection. Like you're available if somebody wants to talk with you. You go online, you're just reading what they wanted to feed you. You have to look at the source of it. And even if you do, a lot of stuff is very well camouflaged. I mean, there could be stuff, you know, the marijuana industry, and I'm not saying, I'm not panning anything here, but if they want to sway you in a certain way, they can put it out there to make it look like it's coming from a different source, all of that. And also, when we get back to, you know, herbals, there's a reason this stuff has been around for centuries and is still working for people. Yes, marijuana has been, THC has been, although when we talk about some of these things, there are synthetics, Delta 8. We could probably do a podcast and after the research about the the synthetic version of Delta 8 and how the
Right.
marijuana industry would look at that and say, well, look at the way Delta 8 synthetic. I get it all, but herbals work. I use your stuff. It works. And I feel 1000% confident that it's natural, it's organic.
Yes.
You took pride in formulating it, and that goes a long way. Instead of just some random company, can get a bag of gummies and like, by the way, I think it's kind of funny. Jimmy Buffett, love the guy, fantastic. His last hit song, I don't know if you're aware, and it was released just before he passed. And as a matter of fact, I have a friend who owns a radio station on Long Island. He did his last interview in July. The song is called, this is to show how this guy was so plugged in. The song is called My Gummy Just Kicked In.
Oh my God, I gotta go. I gotta go. So my late husband was a huge guitarist, and he sung Jimmy Buffett. One of his
Wow.
daughter, she'd tell her daddy, sing the peanut butter song. Okay, if you know Jimmy Buffett, that was her song. And so, I mean, when you say Jimmy Buffett, it's like, oh my God, now I got to go. Because no, I have not heard that yet. So I have got to go listen to that song.
It's funny. It's very country twangy-ish, as is kind of the whole album. And it's, sadly, in a way, when you think about it, that album, he produced it knowing what he had. I mean, he was, that was a couple of years in the making. His diagnosis was 4 years back. Right. He maybe didn't know when and how soon and things like that, but just interesting, kind of funny. Song's funny.
Well, yeah, but and here he was using old traditional medicines, he
was doing the marijuana thing for years.
Right. We all knew that, but
yeah.
I think he did a lot of other stuff. I think he went down a lot of avenues. Yeah, I think he did.
But I don't think he did it recklessly. Like he, careful in what he did and even his image. And so I digress. But how do we find you if somebody's got questions, even wants to go down the herbal route?
Well, I mean, you can always go to my website, watch all these wonderful podcasts with me and you and the other people that and get that education, so but that's oyateherbals.com, OYATEHERBALS.com. There you can subscribe to my website, you can email me from there. My cell phone number is there, so you can text me, you can call me. I am also on Instagram and Facebook, so if you follow me, message me on there, you'll always know where I'm at, especially on those two platforms. I seem to post where I'm going to be, all my different holistic fairs and shows that I do. I've this summer I'm going to start doing some classes and different workshops and things like that. I'm going to get back into that, doing those things. So definitely subscribe to my site, because the classes are going to be limited. The workshops are going to be limited, first come, first serve. So if you subscribe to my site, that automatically puts you on my email list.
Beautiful.
So in that way, and I'm not somebody who spam emails. I hate that. You're not going to get a bunch of, oh my God, this week, this day, I can't stand that. You'll hear from me if I've got products that are going on sale. You'll hear from me if I've got something that's out of stock, and you'll hear from me if I got classes or any updates. Otherwise, trust me, you're not going to hear from me.
and it's great hearing from you. Great talking with you. Yeah. It's so nice to feel comfortable and confident that somebody like you is out there. And if anybody's going through challenges, I'm sure.
Reach out. Yeah, please
you got
reach
stuff.
out. I mean, we talked about those opiates and you talked about the marijuana, but there's an herb out there that actually I have given to people to help them with opiate withdrawals, alcohol withdrawals, that has been tried and true, that's used for centuries. Mukana, kudzu, these herbs that I have been around for centuries. It doesn't matter what you got going on. If you want an alternative way besides, allopathic medicine, reach out to me. I can help.
Amazing. And stuff is reasonably priced. Oh my gosh. I was shocked. And even the salve, for pain, like I use your shoulder pain salve, which has CBD.
Yes.
Which worked in a very short period of time. OyateHerbals.com. Tammie, always love you. Always Always love talking with you.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, if you know how to get in touch with me if you need anything. Anybody needs anything, please reach out. I am always available.
Awesome. All right, we'll talk next time.
All right, you take
Thanks.
care.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Coming right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.